Hey, hi, hello, it's Unsolicited Steph. I'm outside today for a change, which is new but also has its own challenges because it's also very windy. So I'm going to try and record this, and if it all gets too windy I might have to just go home and re-record it. I've also just had COVID, so forgive my croaky voice, but I am getting better, and that was a rough time. I feel like I had avoided it for so long and I was so lucky to do that, but oh well, it came for me in the end. First things first, I want to say thank you to my new subscribers. I can see you and I really feel really good. It makes me feel really warm and fuzzy that people are actually subscribing and wanting to watch the content that I'm making. It's very nice. Today I'm gonna give you a very, very quick video about 5 tips to get the most out of architecture school. First things first, this first tip is going to sound really, really simple, but sometimes the simplest things are the most effective, and that is to do your work. As with anything in design, sometimes you're going to get stuck, but the best thing you can do when you get stuck is to just keep going. I know it sounds really silly, but just getting a little bit of work done every time you get stuck can be the key to unlocking actually making progress in your project. It took me a long time to realize the value of just doing even a little bit of work rather than kind of putting everything on the shelf and being like, it's too hard, I'm too stuck, I don't want to do any more work. That being said, I can only speak from the Australian perspective, where it's pretty standard that you only meet with your studio tutor probably once a week maximum. So even if you are stuck, it's much better to work through something or even show the problem that you've been having so that you can show them when you do get to studio and they can help you. It's better to have something to show than nothing to show, because then you have an opportunity to get feedback and actually build and actually work through some of the issues that you're having, rather than just sort of throwing your hands up and not doing anything and then still just being stuck without having anything to show for it. You will only learn something if you have something to show and get feedback on it. Something is always better than nothing. The next thing you can do is let it go. Let go of any perfectionistic tendencies you might have, which I know is a tall order for architects. We are notoriously, naturally perfectionistic beings, which is great because designing buildings involves going into a lot of detail at times. But while you're at uni, it's best to sort of leave that detail stuff on the shelf, because you're mainly going to be dealing with things at the high levels of conceptual level, and you're not really going to need to go into too much detail. This kind of ties into the first tip, but if you let go of your drawings and models being perfect, then you're going to open yourself up to being able to do a lot more work, communicate your ideas quickly, and be able to get feedback from your tutors. If you spend all your time making things look perfect, you will almost certainly lose sleep, and you will certainly lose opportunities for feedback. Also, learn to let go of the idea of being right or correct. A really enlightening thing about architecture school is that at the end of the semester, when you all come together for crit day, everyone in the room has a completely different idea, a completely different design to exactly the same brief that you've been working on. And that goes to show that there's no right, there's no correct answer. Some of these projects might meet the brief a little better, some might not, some might be a little more resolved, others might not. But at the end of the day, it shows that there's no right answer and that there are a multitude of opportunities, multitude of solutions to any sort of design problem, which is really cool. The next thing you need to do to get the most out of architecture school is to make friends and share your work with other people. Becoming a good designer involves a lot of sharing your work and learning from other people and then integrating that knowledge back into your work. This tip also really helps if you're stuck on something. By showing it to someone else, they can have a fresh view and they can maybe find the solution to the problem that you're grappling with more easily than you can when you're head down in the weeds of your project. By showing your friends and asking one of your colleagues what they think, sometimes it can become more obvious what the next step is that you need to do. Sometimes I find it easier to actually help my friends with their projects and figuring out what they need to do, or figuring out a way for them to communicate their ideas better than I can if I'm just looking at my own project for hours and hours on end. One thing about design is that it's quite personal, and so it can be easy to take things personally when people start critiquing your work. Sharing with your friends will also start exercising that muscle to being open to feedback, and then integrating that into the next iteration of your design. If you've only been studying online for the last couple of years, then a way to find feedback online is to maybe join a server, like on Discord or something, and start sharing your work that way. One thing that has really taken off in the last year or so is the Archi Marathon Discord server, which is linked to their YouTube channel, where members from all around the world come and talk about architecture, share their work, and get feedback. The next tip you will have heard in a lot of videos all over the place, and that is to practice hand sketching. Every tutor, every person you meet will tell you to practice your hand sketching if you want to get more out of architecture school. Hand sketching is still super important in the world of architecture, and it's a means to communicate your ideas quickly. If you can sketch quickly, you will learn and figure out how to solve whatever thing you're working on more quickly than if you spent time in a computer. Trust me. In order to practice your hand sketching skills, maybe take 5 minutes a day to just draw something that's quickly on your desk. Try and look at the elements of it. Maybe go outside in your local area and try and draw the buildings that are around you. By looking and drawing, you will learn about construction, you will learn about details, you will learn about how things are put together. If your uni offers a course in sketching and drawing, take it, because it will be really helpful for you in the end. And if your uni doesn't offer a course, then I suggest trying to find one online. You can There's plenty of drawing tutorials on YouTube, but also another great site that I've been using lately is Domestika. Through that course, I've learned some cross-hatching skills and I've just gained generally more confidence with my hand sketching. The fifth and final tip I have to share with you today is to speak up. There's a reason why my name is Unsolicited Steph, and that's because I always have to give my 2 cents on anything. And I'm never afraid to share my thoughts on any given topic. Yes, it's something that's gotten me into trouble more than a few times, but I embrace the fact that I'm very direct. What I've realized as well is that if I speak up in class, then it seems that more people around me gain some confidence and some courage to speak up as well. And the more discussion there is, the more learning there is. Rather than only having your tutor at the front of the room spruiking their own philosophy and just talking to themselves for like half the day, everyone gets more out of class when there's more discussion and involvement. And that's why I think dreaded group assignments were invented. One of my favorite things to remind myself is that there's no such thing as a silly question. For a long time in my life, I thought that asking questions was admitting failure, that you didn't have the knowledge about something, rather than as an opportunity to learn. I honestly felt ashamed when I didn't have that knowledge or that I had to ask a question. These days when I'm afraid to ask a question, I remind myself of the saying, and I also bargain that there's at least one other person in the room that with exactly the same question that would appreciate it being asked. So speak up, be the person that has the confidence to ask the questions, even if you think it's silly, someone else probably wants to ask exactly the same thing. And in doing so, you'll help everyone else learn as well as learn way more yourself. Thanks for joining me in this windy place. This challenging video to film today. I don't know why I did this, and I have a giant ant bite on my knee from recording. Anyway, I wanted to recap the 5 things that I've discussed today. Tip 1 is do your work. Showing your tutor something is better than showing your tutor nothing. Getting feedback on something is better than having nothing to show at all. Tip number 2, let it go. Let go of being a perfectionist, let go of thinking that there's a right answer. Let it go. Let it go. Doing something better than doing nothing, even if it's not perfect. The third thing, make friends. Show your work to your friends, learn how to get feedback, learn how to integrate that feedback without taking it personally. Tip number 4, practice your hand sketching. Communication is the key to architecture. The better you can communicate your ideas, the quicker you can do that, the better, the more you will get out of architecture school. And the 5th thing is speak up. Speaking up encourages other people to discuss things, opens up discussions, opens up opportunities for learning, and generally will build your confidence as well as other people in the room. That's all I have time for today, because my camera's going to blow over again, and that's going to be it. And I remembered my old sign-off, which is going to make things less awkward. I have been Unsolicited Steph, you have been you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.